Alright everyone, and it's a happy start to the week as we got our Premiership campaign underway very nicely yesterday with a 4-0 win over Kilmarnock. Going on several more, it's fair to say. I think it's going to be a really enjoyable season. Just a wee note, if for whatever reason you've managed to miss it, me and Stevie did a match reaction shortly after full time yesterday. Me from the dry of my Melbourne flat, him from the dreich surroundings at Celtic Park. On the plus side, Stevie is now en route to Venice. He's probably somewhere in the air as we speak. No shortage of water there either, so he'll feel at home. We both gave our kind of original thoughts on the match yesterday. I'll do it a bit more today. Going to bring in your comments as well. Some very interesting stuff you've brought up. You know your football, don't you? I was so patronising. And maybe a little bit of Brendan Rodgers comments as well. Loads of other stuff to discuss. I just thought it was a really, really exciting performance from the team. That would be my word for Celtic so far across pre-season and into yesterday. Like, I'm so excited about the potential of this team. We're scoring goals for fun. Yesterday was the fifth game in a row that we've scored 4 goals. It's actually the 4th game in a row that we've scored exactly 4 goals. So the team are obviously flying in an attacking sense. And there's definitely been a change so far this season from what we saw for the majority of last season. And I've kind of had a bit of a rewatch of extended highlights from yesterday, and there was just such a buzz about our play, and it's kind of summed up by movement for me. And I just think last season, and I don't want to harp on about last season. Last season ended brilliantly. The majority of the season, I think it's fair to say, it was a bit of a tough watch at times. The play was very safe. Very passive, very easy to defend against, and I thought yesterday, and to be honest, the 3 games in the States as well, that's been very different. Celtic are clearly trying to make defending much harder for the opposition, and by that I mean we're trying to make selfless runs. We have players buzzing about, we're moving the ball quickly, we're trying different things. Some of them are coming off, some aren't. And I've just got one example here, and it's this is actually in the lead up to our first goal, and Liam Scales has the ball in a mildly threatening position, let's just say, but look at Callum McGregor and Rio Hatate here, both on the move, both like maybe not quite sprinting, but both certainly making a real conscious effort to get in behind and to stretch the game and to take Kilmarnock players away. That's what I mean by selfless running. Last season, is there not a chance Callum McGregor just sits there, maybe 10 yards to the right, slightly behind Liam Scales, gets the ball and then maybe spreads it wide right? No, here, McGregor and Hatate, as I say, are moving forward, and their movement takes the Killie players with them. And then in the next one, Greg Taylor is the one who realises where the overload is. Again, he's on the move. You can see him in the middle of the park there. He actually sprints all the way around James Forrest, who has the ball now on the left-hand side. He doesn't get the ball on the overlap, but it creates space for James Forrest. It's all about those overloads. And our build-up play actually breaks down. And that's one thing I'd say from yesterday that gets me really excited. So many of the things we tried in the edge of the box, we kind of one-touch flicks and round the corner stuff, didn't actually come off. The amount of times that Killie would get a leg in or whatever, and that's what happened in this case for the first goal. But straight away, we pounced. The minute they got the ball, we pounced. Matt O'Reilly wins the ball back, gives it to Greg Taylor, he gives it to Rio Hatate, and it's in the net. So, these are clear parts of Brendan Rodgers' game. I remember him speaking last season at one point about he basically simplified his whole ethos, his whole philosophy of football, and in very simple terms, it is when you have the ball, make the pitch as big as possible, and when you don't have the ball, make it as small as possible. And we saw that in real evidence yesterday. This is a Brendan Rodgers team we're really starting to see. Probably not certainly not in terms of personnel, but just in terms of playing style. And I think that's a point that Barry Doherty wanted to raise. He says, think a lot are missing the point. This is now Rodgers' team. Can see it. One touch passing with control. He's back and let's enjoy the ride. I just think it's massively exciting that we're playing this brand of football so early in the season, and there seems to be so much scope for improvement in certain players as well. Just another wee tactical point that I realised when I was kind of watching stuff earlier. I don't know if anyone agrees with me. I might be talking absolutely nonsense, but I just get the feeling Kyogo's role might have changed slightly from last season. He was doing a lot of coming towards the ball yesterday, and I think generally that's something that probably didn't work in the main last year. I was certainly someone who wanted to see Kyogo on the last defender stretching the game. Yesterday, a lot of his stuff was to the ball, but I felt rather than coming to the ball and then maybe laying it back into midfield, he was trying a lot of round the corner stuff. It didn't, as I say, often come off, but I think there's enough evidence to suggest that it will come off at some stage pretty soon, and when it does, I think we're going to be even more unstoppable, hopefully. So I just wonder if Kyogo's role is changed ever so slightly, and he's maybe been asked by the manager to try some more risky things rather than coming short and taking the safe option. Come short and then try and link the play, maybe dart in behind. There was one, I think at 1-0 yesterday, where he did a kind of 1-2 with Matt O'Reilly. As I say, got it back and forced McCrory into a pretty routine save up to his right. But I thought Kyogo didn't get his goal yesterday, but there was so much promise in that performance. Right, Ryan Overpeck. We look great today, but we still need at least 3 more players in. We need a striker. If Norwich don't want to let Ida go, then go get Miovski or Shankland. A centre-half, go get Scott McKenna on a free transfer. And a left-back, Josh Doig, ? Would like a couple more if possible, and we need to unload quite a few on both loans and permanent deals. It's very clear, I think, to everyone still, regardless of how well we're playing at the moment and how good yesterday was, that we still need players and we need to add real quality. And there was some quotes from Brendan Rodgers on that to Sky Sports after the game. It has to be quality. That is what this club is about. The supporters demand the quality of player. We have a lot of players to grow and develop. We also need guys that can add that little bit of quality and change the game. That takes time. We all want it now, so hopefully over the coming weeks we can get that in. I understand where supporters come from. They pay money. They want to see the best team on the pitch. So yeah, he spoke a number of times there about quality. And I think this time last year, it was generally kind of young players, project players that we were looking at and we tended to sign. We may still go down that road, maybe for one signing, but I sense, maybe naively, that it's first team quality that Brendan Rodgers wants and knows this team needs. And I think we all feel the same way as well. We've got a really exciting team there, but for me, as I said yesterday to Steve, it's about the Champions League. That's what I'm really looking at. What can we do in that competition? You know, measure yourself at that level, and the domestic stuff will take care of itself. So yeah, it's been an extremely slow transfer window so far. I guess one thing you would say is that the team playing this well probably affords the board a little bit more time than they would have had we been really struggling. I think like if we made a really stuttering start to the season, dropped points yesterday, the knives would have been out, so to speak, for the board, and how slow our transfer business has been. It's not been good enough. The fact that we've only signed one outfielder at this point, and the season's underway. But I guess the team playing that well probably affords them a little bit more time, rightly or wrongly, and they will have until the end of August, and that's when the transfer window will be judged, probably, I guess. But they really need to deliver the quality that Brendan Rodgers wants. Right, Thoma saying, Hamish clearly half asleep. You're not wrong. Watching the game, as Scales was definitely man of the match. That's a phrase not often stated, so he deserves it when it's merited. Sean agrees. Scales was man of the match today for me. Everything started with him. Our midfield is stacked with quality. We need a left back and a striker to get the competition for these spots. Imperious start to the season. We looked like champions all over that team today. Liam Scales had a really good game. I think, to be fair, I did point that out on yesterday's video. My point was that I think man of the match could have gone to 6 or 7 players yesterday, genuinely. Rio Hatate seems to be the one who's been given it in most places. I think, as I say, on the app I used yesterday, Liam Scales was given it. James Forrest could have got it for me, just for how lively he was. Nicholas Kuhn was excellent. Matt O'Reilly was brilliant, involved in so many of our big moments. Callum McGregor was great. Alistair Johnson. There was so many positives yesterday. It was almost one of those games where you could have 3 or 4 man of the matches. Just was the level of the performance. There was no one yesterday you would look at and go, they were poor. Certainly everyone that started, offered so much promise. And again, that's a good sign when an entire team is playing well. You know that things are going right behind the scenes. You know they know what they're doing. They know what the manager wants from them, and you know that confidence is high. The game yesterday, for as good as it was, it kind of went how I expected it to, just based off how confident and well we played in pre-season. I kind of knew we would start the season similarly, and we saw that yesterday. If you'd asked me for a prediction, potentially would have gone 3-0 or 4-0. I thought we would score some goals yesterday. So yeah, Liam Scales was very good. Like I'm not some sort of Liam Scales basher. I'm sure if you look back, you hear me saying that I don't think Liam Scales is nearly as bad as a lot of people like to make out. But, Champions League level, I still want a first choice centre back in, like I want a left back and a few other positions. Right, Billy Boy, which is probably just about as on the edge a Celtic username as we can get. The H there is saving you a fair bit, Billy. Simply saying the Tifo was excellent. Yeah, it really was, and it set the tone for the afternoon. More great work from the Green Brigade, and I think it's very easy to take this kind of stuff for granted, but the amount of planning that must go into displays like that, the coordination, and just the hours of work associated with it all, and at the end having to put all the kind of material around the whole stadium. I mean, that's a hell of an undertaking, and they never fail to amaze me. These full stadium displays, I think they look incredible. Hopefully we get one in the Champions League this year, maybe for a big game, but I know it's so much effort for everyone involved. So great work. I think Joe Hart was enjoying it as well. He shared this image of him on Instagram settling down to watch the game with the Tifo in the background. It must have been a weird feeling for Joe Hart watching the game after 3 years of being so involved with everything Celtic, just sitting back with, just sitting back and watching the team play. And like, we absolutely love Joe Hart, and I'm going to love Joe Hart probably for a long, long time, if not all the time, just because of what he gave the club and how he finished and all that. But I don't think anyone's looking at yesterday or just generally and going, I wish we had Joe Hart back. Like, I think the club deserve credit for getting Kasper Schmeichel in. I think he's been, and he'll prove to be a really good signing and the perfect replacement for Joe Hart. The more and more I think about it. Obviously had very little to do yesterday, but he enjoyed his day as well. Mantis Toboggan MD, pleasantly surprised by how we played today. Thought Kilmarnock would have given us a tougher game than that. If Rodgers can finally get a tune out of Kuhn, Hatate and Palma, and is allowed to bring in 3 or 4 quality signings, we could be on to something. I think Nicholas Kuhn is really exciting. I'm delighted after that Manchester City game that he was able to back it up yesterday, and he looks really confident. He looks quicker to me, and he's just another player who has like and I mean this in the nicest possible way, has a long way to go. Like, he has so much to show us still, and I really think we're looking at a good player if he can find some sort of consistent level. And the wingers last season were such an issue. Like, really, really frustrating watching our wingers generally last season. Early signs yesterday, and through pre-season, to be honest, with Kuhn and Forrest, that things are going to be better this year. Dies and Maida's to come back as well, and Lewis Palma has certainly in pre-season looked quite lively, and we might sign someone as well. So certainly a lot of promise there. But Nicholas Kuhn, I'm very excited to see this season. I think he looks really good. I can't get that run he had in the second half out of my mind. One where he beat like 2 or 3 players and ended up laying it in for McGregor and it was blocked. He looked so quick and strong and assured and confident there. It's hard to realise that it was the same player that we saw last season, who at times just looked short of all confidence. So fingers crossed the new season has done him a lot of good. And yeah, I think just generally it was great to have the team back and see scenes like this, the team walking around getting the acclaim of the support. Cheers to Stevie for sharing this video. But there's no reason to get ahead of ourselves. I remember this time last year, Flag Day, we scored 4 goals, and then things were pretty good and people were really excited, and then we kind of hit a bit of a sticky patch soon after that at the start of the season. So there's no reason to go overboard, nothing to be gained by going overboard. But I think it's fair to say Celtic are going to be a really exciting watch this season. And, you know, we've got some big games coming up. The derby's not far away. We've got Hearts coming up. We've got a double header against Hibs next. St Mirren away is going to be a challenge. So it's got some big games coming up. But I'm really hoping we can use this start to the season as an opportunity to really get ourselves flying for the Champions League arriving. It reminds me a lot, this point we're at right now, of 2 years ago under Ange Postecoglou's second season. First season we won the league. At times it was tricky, it was scrappy. Played a lot of good stuff as well. We got the job done. And then he gave it the whole bigger, better, stronger, whatever speech at the end of the season. And then that was the case. The team backed those words up in the second season, and we were a joy to watch that season. I have a similar feeling about this year under Brendan Rodgers. Last year was just about getting through the awkwardness and winning as much as we possibly could, and it ended up being a really, really successful end to the season. And while Rodgers hasn't directly come out and said all the bigger, better stuff like Ange did, I sense there'll have been that thought in his mind a lot over the summer, that we need to be a lot better this season. And I think the early signs are really, really promising. And a couple of years ago, we started the season incredibly well. We scored so many goals. 9-0 against Dundee United, 5-0 away against Kelly, 4-0 again in the derby against Rangers. I could see maybe not quite the same numbers, but I could see a few very comfortable victories over the first 5 or 6 matches of the season. And hopefully, with some quality additions as well, we're able to get ourselves into a really good place for the UEFA Champions League. That's obviously a totally different level, but it's very interesting to me on Friday that Brendan Rodgers has openly targeted getting to the last 24, the knockouts of the Champions League, top 24 spot in a 36-team league. You're probably looking at something like 8 points for that to be the case from 8 matches. We get 4 from 6 last season. Could have had a lot more. I think the team with a bit more experience, playing well, and crucially some important additions at the positions we all know about. I think we can target that at the very least, getting 8 points. I know it's a bit of a thing to just talk Celtic down in the Champions League, and I understand why that's the case, because it's been really, really tough over the last few years to watch us at that level. And yeah, chances are we'll still have some really tough moments this year. But I just sense there's something going on, and we might surprise people. Obviously, between now and that starting, it's about the domestic stuff, and hopefully we just keep ticking the games off. Double header against Hibs next. We've got them in the league next weekend. the Cup the weekend after. Bring it on, I say, and hopefully bring on some signings as well. Right, thanks everyone. Enjoy your Monday. I'll be back tomorrow.